Due to popular requests, and I mean many positive feedback and messages we got after last week's very special guest, Miriam Geltman, was featured to teach us how to apply Bitachon into real world, real life situations. She's not just a life coach, an excellence coach, a mother coach, a challenges coach. She's a real Bitachon coach, and it showed for those who tuned in or for those who heard the recording afterwards. Bless you. What we're going to be doing is featuring her again, thankfully, tonight in our once a week up from text, eyes up from text. That means all the other nights we learn from the text of Shaar Bitachon, but once a week we talk about how to apply Bitachon to real world situations from real world people who have become masters, walking, talking, embodiers, exemplifiers, exemplars of what it means to live with Bitachon despite all odds. So stay tuned for the proper link. We will, Bezrat Hashem, have Coach Miriam Geltman on a second time. The time of Miriam Hashem will be probably 9:30 p.m. as usual. All right, so Shavua Tov, everyone. This is the second week in a row where the once a week discussion night is featuring a return guest, a very special guest who's given us such good insights and such personal, moving examples of how to live with Bitachon that we've gotten a number of individuals asking if and when can we have her back. So we have to follow, our goal here is to live with Bitachon, and we have to follow what works for our listeners, for our Gate of Trust study partners, and your message works for us. It has been inspiring, it has moved people, and most importantly, the focus of this once a week discussion night, instead of learning from the text as we do the other nights of the week, it's the one night where we are actually thinking of how to apply the Bitachon to real world situations, how to apply the text that we're learning and we have to master academically and intellectually, how to make sure we're living and embodying it when facing real life challenges. And the word real life challenges, the way you articulated yours, definitely makes the rest of us, I can speak for myself, feel humbled and inspired at the same time. So with that introduction, we're featuring Miriam Geltman. Thank you so much, Coach Miriam Geltman. I like to call her the Bitachon coach because the best type of coach is someone who walks their talk. They live, through their lived experience, they know best how to relate to other people and how to help them live the experience of Bitachon. Bitachon means certainty. Bitachon means a sense of security. Bitachon is secure attachment with Hashem, with yourself, with your true self, which is one with Hashem. And to be okay with what is, with the will of Hashem, and to still show up with full motivation to respond to whatever is with the way that Hashem wants us to. But if I could summarize what I understood or what I took away from your message last week, Miriam, was that you embodied two opposite modes at the same time. Bitachon, on one hand, describes one's emotional state. You're not resisting what is. You're not fighting what is. You're emotionally at peace. You have a sense of serenity and security with what is. And your focus and your energy shifts from resisting what is to what does Hashem want me to do? What approach, what posture, what actions am I now supposed to be taking in this situation? What does Hashem want me to do? So it's no longer about what does my desire want me to do, my concerns or my fears, because I don't have any fears. Hashem already takes care of what has to be. So I want you to summarize in your own words in a way that captures your main message that you left us with last week. And if we have some time, if you'd like to then elaborate before we open up the phone lines, so to speak, to questions.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me again, and thank you for such a beautiful introduction. I think you brought us back to very, very nicely to the point that I made last time. I think occasionally at such crisis, people could get kind of stuck in a way. In a way, like shocked and not know what to do, and kind of lost. Am I doing it right in the eyes of Hashem? Am I practical enough? Am I actually doing enough as a person and as a soul? All these confusions hit people. And as a coach, when I lead and meet people at different crises, and also my personal experience, what I understood, it has to be two modes. And firstly, you deal in a way with Hashem. You kind of sit and you connect to Hashem. In your own words, you pray and you say to him, I get it. This is all MS, and this is all meant to be, and this, whatever is coming my way, you believe I could handle. And I'm not fighting with it. This is all had to happen. All of it, like me in it, other people involved, etc. And in a way, you submit. Once a person submits, and there is no resistance anymore, and there is no fight, which people don't call it a fight initially. They think it's normal to feel that way, confused, lost, kind of depressed, maybe a little bit, and all this like stuck energies. And once you're flowing with Hashem, you're his partner, you're with him, you're not against him, right? Then you could proactively act upon what's next to do. It's a matter of fact. This would hit you, and Hashem believes in you, and he gives you all resources. That's another point that we addressed. At the moment, you are given strength. Not before, not half an hour before, but exactly at the moment you are given strength to deal, and you like regroup and remind yourself that. And once you gather yourself and you're calm and you're not resisting and you're not fighting and you're not aggressive, you're not involving other things. How could a doctor done that? How could a policeman done that? And like, why am I in a picture? I think one of the questions one of your ladies asked, why am I challenged with that? And like all these questions, Hashem has no questions. He has answers. And if we tune into him, we are like under the same energy flow. He has answers, and I'm ready to receive answers. And you kind of act on it. Okay, what's next? What's the next one step? What's the next two step? And that is Bitachon in action, in my opinion. When a person is deeply connected and not resisting anymore, not fighting anymore. This is something that needs to, you need to include truthfulness, I think. It's important to be honest with yourself, because we get carried away and we're like, of course I agree, but then half a sentence later, no, I'm not agreeing with that. I should never be agreeing with that. I could hear the question about such general global question like October 7th, like how could you agree with that? How could you apply Bitachon in agreement with Hashem? Like it's really impossible at the moment. And that's what we brought daily training in order to be able to agree on such huge challenges on a daily level. You just call out in a way and say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your world is fine. I'm not arguing. The way you set it up, the way you decided to run, good and bad, it's part of the program. It has to come. It has to hit us. Some death, some discomfort, some losing someone, losing something. It's important to go through it, being part of this world. And I think if on a daily level we remind ourselves that agreement, that submission to him, that ability to flow in his world, be part of his world, not argue, not protest, but kind of, I agree. I let go of my control. You are in charge. I let you lead. And then you start acting as a human being, right?
Wow, yes. I just want to share, as you're saying this, I realized that Erev Shabbos, I had a practical experience that illustrates the truth of what you just said. And I just want to emphasize what I hear you saying, the principle, and then I'll give an illustration. Because tonight, once a week, we focus on the illustrations, the real world lived examples of Bitachon applied. So the principle you're saying is recognize that which Hashem chose is not something that we need to emotionally fight, emotionally resist. And our focus has to be on making peace with the will of Hashem, and then applying the will of Hashem in the way it applies to our response. But step one in our response is how we think and feel about the will of Hashem. And the will of Hashem is for there to be contrast in this world, for there to be night and day, pleasant and unpleasant, life and the opposite of life, peace and war. And in these contexts, Hashem wants to see how will we respond? How will we focus our energy? Will we focus it on not just embracing the will of Hashem on the outside, but will we respond by aligning our responses, our actions, in response to these challenging, dark, colorful situations in the way Hashem wants us to? So it's very much a two-stage process. There is the emotional side of the process of embracing what is, and then there is the action-oriented, now what? How does Hashem want me to react? On Friday, Erev Shabbos, yesterday, I went to a mikvah here in Fort Lauderdale that I usually go to, and it was closed early. So I drove to the next mikvah, which was a little further, and the rabbi says, sorry, you just missed it. We closed, and because it's a women's mikvah, I can't let you go in because we already cleaned it. So I was with a friend, and I asked him, could we just very quickly jump in? There's more than an hour before the women arrive. So he says, no, the cleaning is the issue. And he explained the reason. He took the time to explain. He says, if there's even the smallest speck or a hair inside the mikvah, and it causes one woman somewhere in the future to decide to be reluctant to go to the mikvah, it's a problem. And when I heard that, I said, you know what? You are right. I withdraw my request to go. I think it's holier. It's more purifying for my neshama, and it's a better preparation for me for Shabbos to not go than to chas v'shalom go on the off chance that cheshash that he suggested, that it might cause the mikveh to be less than 100% pristine, and maybe it'll be that one woman who would be turned off. And as soon as I said that, I said, in that case, I feel that it's holier for me not to go. He said, however, there is a swimming pool down the block that I could get you access to. But it was only after he heard me respond with complete acceptance that he found an alternative solution. I witnessed two other people get turned away, and they just left. But I added the verbalization that I embrace this completely and I lean into it. I'm okay with it, and I see it as a holier way of dipping into the mikveh than going physically to the mikveh. Or him, even if he would have compromised, he got the message, no, I don't want you to compromise. You gave such a good purpose for why it's closed now.
Yes. I just want to stress a little bit on the being truthful and truly honestly sift and sort what is actually going on in our mind in a time of crisis and in a time of overwhelming kind of processes that we experience. Like in my case, losing a person that is dear to you and so young, and leaving a little kid next to you, there's a lot going on in your mind. And the first thing, naturally, we want to blame, or we want to pin it on someone, or on something, because it's easier for us to process. It's easier for us to process the shock when it's a doctor's fault, it's the fact that we didn't have enough money fault, it's my fault a little bit, but plus someone else. It's just natural for us to want to pin it on something or someone. See it as it's coming our way. It's naturally coming our way. It's possible, but recenter. Bring it back and say, no, the whole chunk of it, it's Ashgacha process. It's meant to be exactly as it came. And I remember when I tried to recenter myself, because everyone starts calling right away, and close ones and relatives and his parents and Chevra Kadisha and all the stuff that's going on. Plus, I have to hold the space for the rest of the kids at home. I'm the only one, so to speak, here in charge, right? So I right away, like the only thought that went through my mind, how kind Hashem was while he was taking him away. And it was unbelievable. Like, we knew he was on hospice for like 10 months. We knew what was going on. But 3 weeks before, he had one stroke that kind of disabled his walk completely. And he was not able to leave the room at all. The next week, Hashem took his speech. Also, there was a stroke. And I remember walking around the house and like, I'm aparting was one part of him. And he took like one part at a time. And there was a chesed there. And as you said, you could only see it when you honest to yourself, when you want to be truthful, when you don't want to pin on anything or anyone, because then you get stuck on that, like it's his fault, it's her fault, and blah, blah, blah. When you regroup and regather and you collect your energy, then kind of salvation in a way comes for you to process in a more gradual and in a more complete way, right? So I'm not saying you should remember this. No one, Khalila, should go through what I went through, but there are different situations. And I could only see Hashem's chesed when I'm honest to myself and I take responsibility. I think this is part of Bitachon as well. If there's anything you want to remark on that before I continue.
Right. When you talk about honest with yourself, if I have real Bitachon, then there's no corner about the situation or about myself that I'm afraid to look at and examine. In other words, to be fully secure that Hashem is in control and there's nothing to worry about is a foundation to being honest with oneself. Only someone who has a lack of Bitachon might be inclined to be afraid to examine something within themselves or a situation because there's a fundamental possibility that something is bad, something is dangerous, something is going to bite me. But when I have a foundation of Bitachon, it provides a foundation of confidence that there's no hesitation, there's no reason to be afraid of what I'll discover out there or within.
Yes, 100%. So
I want to mention, you know what, I'm going. One more example popped up when you mentioned examining. If someone criticizes us, it's our job, if we know that there's hashgacha pratis at work, that this is happening, this information is coming to me by divine hand, even though it's coming through a human, then I could examine myself. Hashem wants me to hear this feedback. Hashem wants me to hear this criticism. I made a left turn on Utica Avenue onto Carroll Street right after they put up a new sign that said no left turns. And immediately they had police there right behind me, flashing lights. I pulled over and I had no idea what I did wrong. And I said to the officer, is there something wrong? And he says, yes, you made a left turn. There's a sign, no turn signal. So I said, I did make a left turn and I did not see the sign. You're right. Thanks for keeping us safe. And he smiled and he says, you can go. But it's because I was honest with myself. I knew his intentions is to make me aware and to make sure people are driving safely. And I recognize that this is coming from Hashem. But in order for me to have had that reaction, the second I saw the flashing lights, I reminded myself that I am safe in Hashem's hands, and this officer has no power to help me or harm me. I embrace whatever I'm about to see, and now I was able to gather myself, as you said, be centered, and respond in a way that was a Kiddush Hashem, in a way that was honestly self-reflective and genuinely gracious. I wasn't trying to manipulate him to get out of a ticket. I really didn't believe that if he gave me a ticket or didn't give me a ticket, it would have harmed me. And as a result, I was able to be, with my anxiety aside, I was able to listen to what he said and agree truthfully because he was right. And I did get away with the ticket because the kavanah pnimis was met.
100%, yes. I have a similar story. Maybe it will be too lengthy to give it over here, but similar idea. I didn't get a ticket, I actually got rewarded with 4 new tires, which was like over $2,000 or something. But I just wanted to also bring one more point here.
Could you tell us the principle behind the 4 tires instead of the
Yes,
example?
basically, I was living in Canada then, and I had 2 kids in the car. And I get like a siren behind, and it was like a really freezing day. And I get a siren and like flashing, like real, like I think few cars were like after me, and I pulled over, and the officer said you're not allowed to leave the car or open the door. So I basically right away thought it's all for the good, like I had no idea. I had 2 kids in the car. So they started studying, they took my documents, they started studying, and they understood that when I was renewing my lease, they didn't register my license plate. So it kind of did not match, and my car did not belong to me. So he goes to me like so strictly. Oh, it was a lady. She goes to me, I'm going to escort you and you're going to leave the car, and like really heavy stuff. So she escorted me with a huge siren to home, and she told me this car does not belong to you. It does not match. She didn't tell me what was the problem, and she goes, if you're leasing or financing, you better speak to that. So I came to Honda. It was Honda, and also they looked into it and they apologized and they said we owe you, and they gave me 4 tires for free. But that was kind of interesting also because I took that humbleness. I was a criminal for that hour, I was like and I had to take it on. I had to let this energy of potential criminal go through me and be okay with that. That's fine. Even though I had like a newborn baby in the car and other kid in the car, and like they all witnessing all this, it's okay to hold the space for all this kind of shaky stuff.
Why is it okay? Because Hashem has your back. You're truly safe in Hashem's hands. There is really no true danger. It's only an appearance. And when we remember Hashem is behind this, and Hashem is not going to let us get in trouble.
Your soul, you're okay. You're a strong man. You're going to get through this. All your angels are there. All your guides are there. We love you. We know you can do this. That kind of thing, I would say.
Beautiful.
Amazing.
So you're letting go of trying to fix how he feels.
Okay.
You're reminding him that he is sufficiently protected and nurtured and loved and being held by the divine and the divine team of angels that Hashem assigned to him. And as important as it is for him to hear that, it's so much more important, or equally important, for you to hear that, to hear you say that, so that your attention could focus on a very important child in this equation, the child of Hashem that is your soul. That deserves everything your son deserves.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really, really grateful. You've helped me so much, more than words can say.
Yes.
Thank you, Miriam.
Thank you.
Shavua Tov to everyone.
Shavua Tov. Thank you.